Hi guys, welcome back to How to Band. My name is CJ and today I'm going to be showing you my cheap recording studio. Welcome to my time spaceship. It is a pleasure to have you here with me. Now the first thing you're probably wondering is, why do I call this my time spaceship? A song or a mix of instrumentation recorded at different times in different places is sort of a time-space concoction that is expressing different time and space moments through one solidified, unified piece of art. The first thing I'm going to show you in my time spaceship is the engine behind the music, and that would be this. This is my Gammon drum kit, and I assembled this thing out of basically $300 worth of parts. The drum kit itself was only $100, and that was a good deal. I got that on Craigslist. I got these cymbals for $100 for the two, that's the crash and the ride, and I got the mics for $100 as well. So for 300 bucks, I got a really nice rhythm machine that powers and drives my music. Now you don't need to have a drum set in your recording studio. If you want to record percussion or drums, you can use one of these. This is my Yamaha keyboard that acts as my MIDI controller, and it is a YPT 300. And it's got a good amount of keys, a good range to work with. I use it as a MIDI controller, and I can control any instrument I want within my recording software. So if you're going to have a studio, you definitely want to consider getting a MIDI controller as well. That will allow you to add a lot more unique instruments into your music. This is my 1974 Les Paul Special 55. And it has these really awesome Gibson P90 pickups. Now I'm gonna do another video on all my guitars, but this is my favorite guitar for recording. I just love the grit it gets me. It sounds vintage and it screams. I run it through this PV Classic 30, that's a little hard to see there, but this is a all tube amp. It's a 30-watt tube amp, and it has a nice gain channel, and I just run the gain channel pretty high, and I'm able to roll that off on the volume on the guitar and get a good amount of clean as well as distortion whenever I need to. So this is a really nice setup, these two units here. This here is a Snark tuner, and I highly recommend these. These things are awesome. You just clip these to the end of your instruments and you tune it, and it senses what key you're hitting or what note you're hitting and tells you if you're too sharp or too flat. Back here is my blue large diaphragm condenser microphone. It's called a reactor, and this captures the back of the amplifier, which I know it's kind of hard to see in there, and gives me a really nice thick guitar sound when I'm recording. Now the reason I can use a condenser microphone on this instrument is because I actually turn it up very loud, and it's loud enough to drown out any background noise that might end up in my recording. So usually I'll put a mic in front of the guitar and I'll run that mic in the back, and I can get a really nice solid mix out of these. Now you don't have to have an amplifier. You can run your guitar through a setup like Guitar Rig, but I do prefer a live sounding guitar in my mixes, so this is what I use. Now a lot of people are going to want to put acoustic guitar in their recordings. When you're in a room that's not soundproofed, it's hard to get a good acoustic guitar sound without getting all of the outside noise. In this scenario, since I don't have soundproofing, I got this guy. Now this is a Yamaha SLG 200S. It's a steel string version. There's also a Yamaha SLG 200N, and it has nylon strings. The nice thing about this guitar is it allows me to record acoustic guitar without the need for soundproofing. I actually just plug it directly in here into the 1/4-inch input, and I can control it with these controls here. It actually has a built-in microphone, a built-in piezo pickup, a built-in reverb. It's got all sorts of good stuff. It's powered by 2 AA batteries, and it gives me a fantastic acoustic guitar sound, either live or in the studio. I use it to record and I use it live. So I highly recommend this guitar for those of you looking to get that nice acoustic guitar sound without having to worry about recording it in a soundproofed room. You definitely want to get that oomph to your music, and a good solid bass along with a good solid kick drum will give you that activated kick bass sound that most people are looking for when they record music. This here is an American-made G&L SB2, and I got this from my buddy Tim from the Whereabouts. This bass is really nice because it has 2 pickups, and these 2 knobs here allow you to mix these 2 pickups together. So you can run one or the other, you can run a mix of both, and you can get pretty much any bass sound that you desire, any bass tone you desire out of this bad boy. It's a really nice bass. Now again, you don't need to go out and spend $1,000 on a bass. You can pretty much pick up any old bass anywhere, run it through a 1/4-inch cable, and run it to this. This is an interface, and if you're going to record, you need an interface. This is what connects your microphones and your instruments to your computer. Now this here is actually an aggregate system I put together using this M-Audio Mobile Pre that's got 2 inputs in the back and this Tascam 8-channel interface. Now I combine these and I get 10 channels, and I can record all my drums at the same time. It's a really nice setup, but you only need one of these. If you're planning on doing track by track, you could actually just use one of these, and it's got 2 inputs. You could just do acoustic guitar and your vocals or whatever you're looking at doing, and then use this for all of your other instrumentation. If you ever want to do anything live, I would suggest something more like this, where it has more channels and you can plug in more mics. Now this connects to the control center, which is this. This is my MacBook Pro, and this one's from 2014. This is a pretty good one. You can use a MacBook as old as roughly 2009, 2010 and still be able to record, and you can pick those up pretty cheap. This one probably costs, maybe, I don't know, $700 to $800 used, but that's because it's very high specs. You connect the interface to this bad boy, and you use recording software. In this case, I'm using Logic Pro X, and you can record all your music onto your laptop anywhere you want, as long as you have a laptop recording software and an interface. You could probably build one of these for under $1,000. And I say that because I have some really nice stuff here, but you could probably pick up a drum set for about, well, this is about as cheap as a drum set would probably be. About $300 for drums, mics, and cymbals. That was really cheap. You could go cheaper than that probably, but I'd say about $300 for that. You could pick up a guitar rig. If you just get a guitar, you could spend as little as probably $100 or even less and plug it directly into your interface and use guitar rig or whatever you want, maybe a pedal. You could use whatever you want. You don't need an amplifier, you don't need mics. All you need to do is plug the guitar in directly into the interface. So that keeps your costs down as well. Same thing with the bass. You don't need a $1,000 bass. You could pick up a $100 bass on Craigslist, again, plug it directly into your interface and be recording in a matter of minutes. You don't need fancy microphones. One of the things about this particular recording studio is it's set up in this room, as you can see, without soundproof. Now, a lot of sound engineers would just go crazy. They'd be like, oh my gosh, you don't have soundproofing. Your sound's gonna have all sorts of bleed in it. You're gonna have cars honking outside and all sorts of stuff. Now, that is true to a certain degree. However, I built this studio specifically so that I could record with dynamic microphones and not be using big, large diaphragm condenser microphones and all sorts of really sensitive microphones that are going to pick up the traffic noise outside and my wife in the kitchen or whatever it is. It's not that hard to record isolated places in your studio with a dynamic microphone, and you won't have to worry about sound bleed or any of the sound coming from outside the room or outside the house, because your microphone is focused on such a tight spot that it isn't picking up any of that crazy stuff. Now, these are two of my favorite microphones. The one on the right is an M-Audio Sputnik. It is a large diaphragm tube condenser microphone, and it is extremely sensitive. Unfortunately, because of the soundproofing situation in my room, I will not be using this one very much. The one on the left is an EV767ND. It's an old version of their, I believe it's called the 67 now, or maybe the 76, I'm not sure. But this is my favorite dynamic microphone. I use it for my vocals live, and I also use it to record a lot of my instruments in here at close proximity. When you use one of these, it's not sensitive enough to pick up the volume outside of the room like the Sputnik on the right is. These are the dynamic microphones I use on the drums. These also are meant to be used in close proximity to the drum and do not pick up outside noise. If you're planning on building a studio and you don't want to soundproof the room, consider using only dynamic microphones when you record your equipment. Here's a recap. To build a cheap recording studio, you're going to need a control center, which is a computer and recording software. You're going to need an interface that connects all of your mics and instruments to the computer, and you're going to need all of the instrumentation that you want to record. This is my time spaceship, and I hope you guys enjoyed getting a tour. If you don't know how to put together a home recording studio, I hope this helped you. I do have more videos on my drums, I have more videos on all of my guitars, I have videos on all sorts of different things regarding how to band. But on this video, I'd like to remind you guys that when you're setting up a space to record your music, band smart, not hard. Thanks a lot, guys. Rock on.